What if healing didn't make you kinder? What if it didn't make you softer? What if the version of you after healing is the one people quietly fear? Why do some people disappear from your life the moment you stop absorbing their pain? Why does peace arrive only after guilt leaves? And why does awareness feel so dangerous to those who live unconsciously? What if this isn't loss? What if this is what integration actually looks like? Stay with me. Healing is often described as a return to innocence, as if pain was an interruption, and wholeness means going back to who you were before. You learned too much, but Carl Jung never described healing that way. He observed something far less comforting and far more honest. When an empath truly integrates, they do not become universally loving. They become precise. Most people misunderstand empathy. They think it is kindness, softness, endless availability. But empathy without boundaries is not virtue. It is self-erasure. And many empaths spend years confusing self-abandonment with compassion. You did not become sensitive because it was beautiful. You became sensitive because it was necessary. Your nervous system learned to scan environments before danger spoke out loud. You learned moods before words. You felt shifts before actions. This was survival, not spirituality. But survival adaptations come with a cost. While perception sharpened, boundaries dissolved. You did not know where others ended, and you began. Their anxiety felt like yours. Their anger moved through your body. Their grief lived in your chest. Jung called this unconscious participation, and it is one of the most exhausting psychological states a human can inhabit. You became a container, not because you wanted to, but because no one taught you how not to be. You absorbed what others refused to carry. You translated silence. You softened conflict. You stabilized chaos, and the world rewarded you for it. People praised your understanding, your patience, your depth, but they never saw the price. You paid with your identity. You forgot your own internal signals. You lost track of your needs. You learned everyone else before learning yourself. This is where the empath myth becomes dangerous, because it romanticizes depletion, it frames endurance as virtue, and convinces you that your worth depends on how much pain you can hold. Jung noticed something important: empaths rarely seek transformation voluntarily. They are pushed into it through betrayal, not minor disappointment, but existential rupture. The moment when the person you protected most reveals that they never saw you as a person, only as a resource. That moment is devastating and necessary because it forces a choice you have avoided for years. Continue absorbing and disappear completely, or stop betraying yourself. This is where the shadow appears, not as evil, but as strength you were taught to suppress: anger, discernment, refusal, severance. The ability to walk away without explanation. These qualities lived in your shadow because you labeled them as wrong. Integration begins when you stop doing that, when you realize that every time you override your intuition to protect someone else's comfort, you commit an act of self-violence. Healing is not gentle. It is honest, and honesty is disruptive. The first thing that changes is absorption. You stop taking in what does not belong to you. Someone projects guilt. You feel it, but you do not carry it. Someone expresses rage. You observe it without internalizing it. This is not coldness. This is differentiation. Most people experience this as distance. They say you changed. They say you became different. They are, right? You became conscious. When you no longer accept emotional responsibility for others, their manipulation loses traction. Guilt has nowhere to land. Drama cannot hook you. And this destabilizes people who depended on your unconsciousness. The second change is selectivity. You stop being universally available. You do not close your heart. You become strategic with access. You recognize who has earned proximity and who has not. This is where people accuse you of being harsh. But kindness without discernment is destruction. True kindness includes clarity, even when clarity disappoints. You stop explaining yourself. You stop justifying boundaries. You stop negotiating your nervous system for approval. You let others feel the discomfort of their own emotions. And this is when the real shift happens. Years of perception finally integrate into wisdom. All the patterns you logged, all the signals you noticed, All the inconsistencies you ignored, now they form a coherent map. You no longer need time to understand people. You recognize structures quickly. You see manipulation before it forms. You sense dishonesty before proof appears. This is what makes the integrated empath dangerous. Not aggressive, not controlling, but immune. You cannot be guilted. You cannot be pulled. You cannot be confused into abandoning yourself because you trust your perception. Jung warned that unintegrated sensitivity leads to victimhood, but integrated sensitivity becomes sovereignty. You could manipulate if you wanted to. You understand psychology deeply enough, but you choose not to. This is the difference between power and domination. Your presence forces others to confront themselves. Some evolve, some leave, some reveal themselves. None remain unchanged. Family systems collapse when you stop absorbing tension. Relationships end when you stop carrying imbalance. And peace appears where chaos once lived. You are no longer afraid of loss, because you already lost the version of yourself that survived by disappearing. You do not seek validation. You do not argue. You do not prove. You simply see and choose accordingly. This is not detachment. It is alignment. Healing did not make you softer. It made you real, and real people are not easily controlled.